Hey everybody, Lenny Reed from Dynomite Diesel. Wanted to try and clear some air with injectors, balancing, testing, why it's important, what it means to you, what it means to the truck, what it means to the engine. A lot of times when we're building things in mass productions, we have to build targets that are fairly large in order to really get something that we can make several thousand of a day. So we can't really say that the original equipment is not great. It is great, the stuff's awesome. But unfortunately, when you're trying to manufacture several thousand units a day, you have to build windows that are large enough to get within with a fairly time efficient manner. Otherwise, you're gonna end up paying a lot for every single piece that you ever buy. Why do we do it the way we do it? Well, because a lot of our customers aren't just making 350 horsepower like the factory designed it. We're making 3, 4, 5, 6 times that. The more power you try to make, the more you want to share the workload across all the cylinders in the motor. So if you have one injector that's a little bit hotter than the others, that one injector is definitely going to be contributing more fluid. It's going to be making more bang. That piston, that connecting rod is going to be shoving down harder on that portion of the crank. Do you want that? Absolutely not. You don't. You can cause premature piston failure. That connecting rod is definitely going to see the most stress. It's going to get the shortest, the fastest. It'll be the one that breaks. And obviously the crankshaft with that journal seeing the most load, if it's that far off, you're probably going to break the crankshaft in that exact same spot. For this example, I'm going to be speaking about the Cummins 6.7 and the original equipment call out on that idle. They asked for 12.4 mm cubed plus or minus 4.6. So since I'm on camera and I'm trying not to do this thing 13 different times, got my trusty little calculator. So if I take my 12.4 plus 4.6 equals, we're at 17. I might not be great at math, but I know that this thing at $6 has got to be correct. When those injectors idle at 17 down to 12.4, they're fabulous. You touch the key, you breathe on the key, everything works great. It starts right up. It starts like an old first gen. But when you take that same 12.4, and you subtract 4.6, that lets you all the way down to 7.8 mm cubed at idle. Bear in mind that you can now be up to 17 and down to 7.8 mm cubed in the same motor, and in the factory test stand, you're still gonna get a little green check mark and it says it's good to go. The problem there is this. I know for a fact that when you get below 10 mm cubed, they have extended crank time, and when it's cold, they will misfire for 10, 15 seconds, even if the motor is in complete, perfect operational order. That's just that. The deviation there isn't so much that the 74% is a problem. It's the fact that when it gets down below 10, we know from firsthand experience driving these vehicles, having several customers out on the highway, there's all sorts of people that we deal with, from North Dakota to Sealy Lake, Montana, places that are, well, Red Deer, Alberta. It gets to be minus 40, minus 50. And even though you might be living in North Carolina or Florida and you never experienced those situations, we're collecting data for everybody. So from a hot climate to a cold climate, we've got to take all that stuff. We bring it in and we try and dial in these injectors, and then we recreate test plans. The nice thing about the test gear that we're using is we start with just the OE test plan, and then we start to really hone that in and we recreate and we redesign, and we can do that very, very quickly. They allow 150.9 mm cubed plus or minus 6.2 mm cubed. So that on the big end is about an 8% deviation that's allowed. And again, you'll get a green check mark in the test stand and it says that thing works perfectly. Bear in mind that with some of your guys' aftermarket tuning, your aftermarket turbochargers, things like that, you can actually get those injectors to make really close to 600 horsepower. Now the problem there is this. When you're leaning on the motor that hard and you're now basically 200% of what its capacity was from the OE, and you've got one injector that pumps on the hot side of that and one injector that pumps on the cold side of that, the one connecting rod is going to see a lot greater strain and stress. That connecting rod will be the one that gives you issues first. You're going to end up with customers or your own truck that runs poorly, and when you go to do a compression check, you're going to find that that one cylinder has a bent connecting rod in it. Well, why is that? Well, because that one hole may have been making 5 or 10 or 20% more horsepower and torque than the other holes in the motor. So whenever we go to take a set of those things out of the box, we don't just let that number fly. What we do is we actually hone in to whatever our maximum in our 50 horse or our 90 horse, if you want to call it in percents, whether they're 10, 20, 30%, we always get that VL test within 3% of one another. And the reason we do that is to try and share the work cycle across all the cylinders. If it's a V8, we want all 8 cylinders hitting equally as hard. If it's an inline 6, we want all 6 cylinders hitting equally as hard. We want to share the entire workload, whether it's 600, 800, or 1,000 horsepower. We want that 1,000 horsepower to be equally distributed across all the cylinders, not having one making more than the rest. I hope that makes good sense. And if you have any questions, feel free to let us know. www.dynomitediesel.com. Thanks.